Hey, what's going on? It's your boy, Dr. D.F. Arnold, known around the world as the Purpose Guy. I don't know if I can say known about the world, but I will because I like to manifest. So known around the world as the Purpose Guy. Welcome to the next episode of the Purpose Lab, where you know the mission. We're on a mission to interview the world's most successful failures, people who understand the significance found in failure in order to achieve the success that they're striving for. So I want to get right into it. And what I thought this episode would be about, because as I talk about purpose, as I talk about passion, which is the whole foundation of what my whole work has been on, I wanted to read an excerpt from my second book, and we'll put the link in the bio. So the link will be attached to it if you want to purchase it, because I really think that this book will help you. And I want to give you a little backstory on this book. I wasn't a big reader. And so all through college, you would have to do certain things, read certain things, and I would skim through it. So wasn't a big reader. And proximity, I believe proximity is key to the success we want to have as well. Who are you hanging around? Who is helping you get to that level where you know you deserve to be at? And so I had become friends at my last university with the president of the university. And that right there was different in itself, because I didn't know him. And my wife had become friends with his administrative assistant. And she was over having dinner with my wife, and I came in after work, and she had actually said, "Hey, have you met Mark Murray yet?" And I said, no, because there was really no reason for me to meet him at that particular time. She said, "You know what? Everything that I know about you and the conversations we had, you guys need to meet each other." She said, "I'm setting up a meeting." And so she set up a meeting. Fast forward, our first meeting was one of those meetings where you knew it was a match. You knew you had things in common. And I knew that he was going to be one of my mentors, now a friend, who was going to push me to that next level. And so fast forward, we had started going different places together. He had seen me speak, heard about me speaking, different things like that. But we had taken a trip together to our national championship women's basketball game. And I remember on the plane ride, he had said, "Hey, Damon, have you thought about writing books?" And I'm going to be honest with you. Remember, I told you I wasn't a big reader, but I wasn't a great writer as well. I struggled through getting my first master's because I had to write a thesis, and I struggled through writing my dissertation. But I was writing it on something I was interested in, and I had a great editor who would go back and forth with me and really edit my stuff and really challenge me to get better. So I don't know. Let me stop saying I wasn't because I wasn't then. But I know the importance of being able to speak, being able to articulate your words on paper as well. So he said on the plane, he said, "Hey, have you thought about writing books?" And I was like, because he had known my story, because I was very transparent with him. And he said, "Listen," he said, "you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And what you're leaving is what's called passive income." At the time, I didn't know what passive income meant. And he said, when you're speaking at different conferences that you will be speaking at all over the world, he was speaking to me, and he was lighting that match inside of me. He said, when you're speaking all over the world, he said, what you want to have is a table full of books, tables full of different things that you can do for the organizations that have come to see you speak, so it continues on. And so what happens with the passive income is not only are they bringing you in to speak at their conferences, but now they're going to buy your books. Now they're going to buy the things that you have on the table. I knew nothing about this. And so he said, and remember, you're now Dr. Damon Arnold. He said, you can write what you want to write about. You can write to the population that you want to be able to get and learn from the things that you have to offer. And so it got the wheels turning. And so I thought, man, at this time I'm working with student athletes, and I know many like me, not all, but some like me didn't like reading as well. And so I ended up writing my first book. And I said, when I write this book, I don't want it to be a thesis. I want it to be something simple with a powerful message, something simple with a powerful message that they can learn something from. And the caveat is that they can then tell their friends and their friends and their friends, and it would spread like wildfire, which that was what I thought. And that's what ended up happening. So when my guys will come to my office, they'll go through different things, or my young ladies will come to the office. They'll go through different things. And these are just not athletes. These are non-student athletes. These are people when I go speak and I talk about what's in the book. And so they'll come in and man, Doc, I'm struggling with this. And I'll tell them, okay, well, let's go to this chapter in my book. And they'll be like, Doc, you wrote a book? And I say, yeah, I've written many books at this point. And they'll say, come on, man, Doc, you know I don't be wanting to read too much. I'm like, well, just look at it. And they open it up and they see that it's double spaced, right? And they also see the different chapters that's in there. The chapters called, and remember last week we talked about the word can't, right? Are you sick and tired? There's a chapter on, is it time to try change? The word can't that we talked about in the previous episode. Everyone is not your friend. All of these different things. And so they'll go to it and they'll start reading it. So once they take the book, they come back to me because it's a quick read. And they end up getting into it. And they're like, man, Doc, man, that was the first book that I've ever read cover to cover. First of all, I was honored. Second of all, I knew that's what would happen because I thought about myself being transparent. Kid that got kicked out of 2 different high schools, graduated from an alternative school. Being transparent, I knew how important it was for them to begin to start reading things that interest them. And so I wanted to make it simple enough. I wanted to make a powerful message to where they got something from it. So now fast forward, I remember one of my guys, when other people would come in the office, he would go right to the book, especially if it was a young lady or somebody dealing with something. They're like, oh, wait a minute, Doc got a chapter for that. And they're like, what are you talking about? And he'll start reading it. And then the person would be like, man, can I take that? And so they would pass this book around. But here's what I want to talk about today. And I'm gonna give you a little excerpt from the book. And once again, we'll put the bio, we'll put the link and everything for you to purchase the book or the ebook inside the link when we post this podcast. But this chapter is called Take Action, Find Your Passion. Take action, find your passion. I always knew there was something different about me and that I would be successful. One night while in college, I took a break from working on my thesis for my first master's. I decided to take a drive, and there was a party on a particular street that I drove down. The reason I wasn't at this party is because I knew that in order to have things others didn't, I had to be willing to do things others wouldn't. As I was driving by, I saw a good friend, and I quickly made a U-turn to say hi to this friend. I had no intentions of staying at the party. I just wanted to say hi to my friend. I parked. I got out the car and everyone said hi and mentioned how nice my car was. They were all acting extremely friendly towards me, and this began to annoy my friend. He pulled me to the side and he told me these same guys were saying bad things about me before I arrived. I thanked him for telling me and I told him, don't even worry about it. The next day he called me. He asked me, how were you able to act so cool? Why didn't you get upset? I laughed and I explained to him that I knew because I decided to quit hanging out and began doing things different, they would feel like I wasn't one of them anymore. I was okay with this because I understood that in order to be with them, I would have to continue to lose me. Once my mood, feelings, and attitude began to change, I began to like who I was becoming. I won't say that it was easy training my mind to think this way, but I will say that my doubts did not outweigh what I was willing and going to do at this particular time in my life. I was determined to be successful and unwilling to let anyone or anything interfere with this. I knew if I kept my moods, my feelings, and my attitudes in check, I would be okay. So your mission can't be to have everyone like you. It will never happen. Remember, you can only change you and your reaction to what they think and what they do. So when I talk about this whole system of it's not how you start, it's how you finish that counts. The power of purpose system that I created that will continue to give you more and more as we go through this podcast that is about the Purpose Lab. I think about this particular story and I think about this was my life. But I knew that if I wanted something different, I had to be willing to do something different. I knew by hanging around my friends, I knew that we weren't headed in the same direction. I felt it. I felt that there was something inside of me that I was going to do, that I needed to do, and it was burning in me to do. And I know many of you, you have that same feeling. You know it's something that's burning inside of you that you need to do in order to have your happiness, your peace, and your joy. But it can't happen unless you make a decision and a choice to make it happen. Going through the story, think about it. I said I was sitting up and at home, I was working on my master's. Remember, I told you I wasn't a good writer, so it was hard for me. That's why I had to spend time and spent so much time at home not doing different things, because I knew that I had to do that in order to have and become who I knew I wanted to become. So when I took that drive, it was just for me to get away. But then I run into my friend. That's who I seen. I didn't even see everyone else. When I ran into my friend, and when he pulled me to the side, because that's a friend, my friend pulled me to the side and said, man, they was just talking about you. They acting cool with you right now, but just a minute ago, they was like, man, look at that, man. David don't even hang. Man, they was just talking so much. I didn't know this until he told me. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was a little hurt because I was like, man, I'm not liking them. I just want something different with my life. I just know my mother. I just know people who sacrificed so much for me to be in a different position, that I wanted to live my dreams. I wanted to thank them for everything that they've done. So when he called the next day, I really was at the point after that night where I said, you know what, it doesn't even matter. Here's what you got to understand. People will talk about you whether you're doing good or whether you're doing bad. I would rather them talk about you doing good than doing bad, than being less than you were purposed to be. See, when we talk about this purpose lab and interviewing the world's most successful failures, I want them to talk about everything that they had to do in order to sacrifice, in order to change, in order to become the people who they ultimately are. There's nothing different about the people who are experiencing the success that they're having, except for they have a different mindset. They have a different thought process as it pertains to the thing that they want. They locked in and took the action steps and said, no, I'm not willing to continue to be in a position that's less than I deserve. I want more. So in order for me to have more, I have to go after my more. Are you willing to do that? Because that's the choice that only you can make, regardless of what happened to you. Because remember, in other episodes, I talk about it was never happening to you. It was happening for you. Can you learn the lesson, as hard as it is, from the thing that you're going through in order to do something different, to have something different? I always reference Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. There's no different result if we keep doing the same things. We'll experience the same thing. So if we want something more, we have to be willing to do something more. But let's back the story up even more. I had a mentor who's now a good friend who said, hey, why don't you write books? And the insecurity inside of me was like, I can't write. Come on, Mark, I've been honest with you. I've been transparent with you. I told you it was hard for me to receive my PhD, my first master's, my second. It was hard for kicked out of 2 different high schools, dismissed my senior year of college. It was hard for me. You talking about writing books? He said, Damon, you can do it. You just have to write what you're passionate about. See, a lot of times we do things that we're not passionate about, and we wonder why we don't have the same amount of joy. I think, and I strongly believe, after studying and continuing to study successful people, the thing that they done different is not only thinking about it, but they took the action steps to make it happen. So I'm talking to a successful person telling me, hey, this is what you need to think about doing. It wasn't even a thought. When he broke down what passive income was, I was like, oh, I'm for that, because I didn't know. And so it's funny because I remember early on when I would go speak or whatnot, and my wife, she would be like, man, you always gone. You always speak. And then she heard the ding on my phone, and I said, which Louis bag did you want? She was like, okay, baby, go ahead and go out and speak. But when you don't know something, what ends up happening is you'll continue doing what it is you know. But if you want to grow, because what you know only got you this far. If you want to go to that next level, you have to have different information downloaded into you. But what you do with that information, like I said, is on you. So when he said it, I remember going home and I started thinking about, what do I want to write about? And that's when the whole Secret was out. You know, Rhonda Burns and everybody had talked about The Secret. And that's why the title of my book is, it's not a secret, it's just life. It's not a secret, it's just life. Things will happen to each and every one of us. Things have happened to you in your life. But once again, what did you do with the thing? Did you recycle the thing? Or did you take the thing and say, I don't want to continue to have this thing run through my bloodline? The reason why I don't drink, the reason why I don't smoke is because there's a history of alcoholism and there's a history of drug abuse that ran rampant in my family. So it's in my bloodline. So I knew when I had my son, DJ, who at the time of this podcast, my son is 19 years old. So for 19 years, I have not had a drink. And I'm not judging people who, I'm not. I'm just saying what I had to do different in order to have something different, because I knew I had seen my uncle, I had seen my aunt, I had seen different people who they were around who were victims of drugs, of alcohol. When they would go to AA meetings and all of this, sometimes I would go with my uncle because my uncle was like my dad. So I would see the effects of drugs. I would see the effects of alcohol. He would tell me, come on, man, I don't ever want you to see you doing this. I'm going to tell you a quick little story. I moved from Cleveland to California when I was young. But I would go back to Cleveland because that's where my family was. The only people who moved to California is me and my mom, because she wanted to start a better life, or she wanted me to have a different opportunity. But I would go back to see my family. I remember going back one particular year, and my cousin, who's 6 months younger than me, who has now passed away, but my cousin, I remember going up in my grandmother's house, and my uncle used to stay upstairs. And I remember my uncle. This is the person who I looked up to and look up to, because he changed his life and he was clean and sober for about 20 years before he passed away. But I remember him doing heroin. He was tying it and he was taking the needle. And he had told me and my cousin, his son, he said, I better not ever see y'all doing this. Y'all better not ever do this, as he was doing it. This was the person I looked up to, who was like my dad, with my dad not being there. But I remember that. So when I had my son, I just knew that I wanted him to have a different opportunity in life. I wanted him to not have to repeat the things that my family had to defeat. He would have his own issues. My son would have his, but I didn't want him to have that. I wanted him to be in college. I wanted him to be in high school. And when everybody else is drinking or everybody else is smoking, and they ask him, hey, DJ, do you want to? And he says, nah, I'm good. And then they say, man, you corny, man. Everybody drink, everybody smoke. I wanted him to say in his mind, well, dang, everybody don't, because I've never seen my dad take a drink. I've never seen my dad smoke. But still, it would be his choice of what he decides. But what he can't say is he never seen something different. That's just like all of us. The Purpose Lab. You can't say that you haven't seen someone doing or having or have become the thing that you say you want. There's nothing new under the sun. That car you want to drive, someone's driving it. That house that you want, you can look online, you can see someone having it. The only difference is they thought different and they took the action steps. As hard as it may be, as challenging as it may be, will you be disciplined enough to do something different, to have something different, instead of looking at those people from afar thinking, man, they live a great life? That can be your life. That can be our life if we make the decision. So I wanted my son to have a choice to say, I'm going to take this drink, which is fine. My wife drinks wine responsibly. If he made that, that's fine. Just do it responsibly. But he can't say that he's never not seen someone not do it. So I think about my friend, my mentor, Mark. He taught me something different. He taught me and said, have you ever thought about this? So when I wrote this book, It was writing a book that's simple but powerful. All of my books that I've written thus far, whether it's my illustrated books, which I believe we all got that 7-year-old inside of us that needs to heal. Remember, I was young when my uncle did heroin right in front of me. I had to heal from that. And part of my healing was I don't want my family to repeat what my family had to defeat. My 7-year-old, my 11-year-old had to heal from seeing that to understand that I'm not doing that. I'm doing something different. And that's how we get through trauma. That's how we get through different things that have been affecting us to this point. Because either we'll deal with the trauma or the trauma will deal with us. Either we'll be transformed or we'll transfer the things that we never dealt with to generation that comes after us. So that's how important our purpose is. That's why when I came up with this whole purpose lab, I wanted people to understand that those people who have done some successful things, they failed. All of us have failed. All of us have not experienced what we wanted at that particular time. But what all of us can do is learn a lesson from that thing in order to get to that next level. And that's what this book does. When I talk about passion, when I talk about purpose, when I talk about your mindset, I talk about mood, feelings, and attitudes inside of this book. I talk about all of these different things. That's a simple read, but it's powerful because here's the reality. I wear these bands, and we'll put this up on the website one day as well because I want to get into the message about these bands as well. But when I wear this band, and my NFL athletes wear this band, and my collegiate athletes wear this band, and the different people, when I go speak around the country, they wear this band. This band is simple, but we're going to talk about that on the next episode. Isn't that how they leave you right there? On the next episode, we'll talk about the importance of this band. But here's what I want to leave you with on today's episode. Your purpose is inside of you. Your passion is inside of you. It's not on the outside of you. I believe the reason why your purpose and your passion is on the inside of you, because I believe it's there so you can't lose it. See, if it was on the outside of you, then you would be looking, searching. I believe it's on the inside of it. I believe we all have that thing that we know we're good at. We just have to be bold enough, courageous enough to make it happen. Those people who will interview on this purpose lab, they'll talk about what it took. They'll talk about finally being bold enough, courageous enough to make it happen. See, because we all have that thing inside of us, which is a gift, and it's our gift to give away to the world. This is my gift. See, if I'm not a good writer, not good at math, not good at science, I wasn't at that particular time, but I know I can do this. This right here, this is my thing. To be able to speak, to be able to articulate myself, to be able to gain information, to simplify it to where it can help other people. See, that's my thing, just like you have your thing. Because on the Purpose Lab, it's our mission to interview the world's most successful failures, people who understand that failure was part of the process in order to discover their thing inside of them, to change their family, their friends, and the world. I hope all this makes sense to you. If it does, share this, share this. Share this with your friends, share this with your family, share this with your students, share this with your partner, share this with different people so they can understand that they have a gift inside of them that is yearning to come out. And when that gift comes out, they'll be able to help the world. They'll be able to change their family dynamics. I changed my family dynamics because now getting kicked out of 2 different high schools, it wasn't a point of if my kids are going to college, it's what college are they going to? That cycle was broke. That cycle, that curse was broke. But it can only be broken when I took the action steps and said it stops here. As hard as it is to have friends talking about me, it stops here. I want something different, so I can't worry about what they think. I have to worry about what I know. And I know, just like you know, you have a gift and something special inside of you. So they will talk about you. I told you, they talked about me. They talk about me. But I would rather be in a position where I can help other people than a position where I can't help anyone and I'm just mad because people are talking about me. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Purpose Lab. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.